Good evening and welcome to the September 14th, 2020 City Council work session. Thank you for joining us in this remote meeting format we're using in response to Governor Brown's Stay Home, Save Lives order. This format enables the City Council to meet and take care of business while keeping its members, staff, and the public safe. For work sessions like this one, where there is no opportunity for public comment, those wishing to access the meeting can do so by watching the live stream available on our website, broadcast on Comcast Channel 21, or by calling in to one of the phone numbers listed for this meeting on the public webcast and meeting materials webpage. Looking ahead, tonight's regular meeting will include a public forum. Information about how to participate in this meeting is available on the public webcast and meeting materials webpage. And as always, other avenues of communication with me and city councilors are available, including email and voicemail. And thank you again for everyone for joining us. We have a couple of introductory pieces. And before we actually start the meeting and I turn it over to the manager, I am going to give Councilor Semple just a moment to explain her current circumstances so everyone understands the context. So Councilor Semple, take it away.
Thank you, Mayor. I was in a serious car crash 3.5 weeks ago. I'm home from the hospital and working on recovering. In order to use my limited energy effectively, I will be attending tonight's work session by audio only. This way, I hope to be able to participate in tonight's meeting and forum at 7:30. More details then. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We're glad to have you safe and healthy enough to participate in the meeting and appreciate your efforts for the community, even through a recovery of that injury. So thank you so much for being with us. And with that, I will turn it over to the city manager.
Thank you, Mayor. As you know, we have two agenda items tonight that were already set related to community safety. However, thought it would be a good idea to give you another update on what's happening with the fire and fire response, in particular, some of the ways it's engaging the city of Eugene. And so we have both Chief Heppel and Matt Rodriguez, who has stepped in as our incident commander in the EOC, while Chief Heppel is up working with the incident command post. So with that, I just will try to keep it high level again so we don't use up too much time, but I'll ask Chief Heppel to give you a quick update. Thanks.
Good morning or good afternoon, Mayor, Council. Just a moment, I'll go ahead and bring up my screen and we'll walk through the current updates of the Holiday Farm fire. So hopefully you should be able to see my screen. All looks good there. And moving on, let's just talk right about the status or the statistics or some of the numbers. As of last night, the fire is about 166,000 acres. Certainly that's an approximate number, but the number has been slowing down through the week. So initially, the first night it burned, unfortunately, 73,000 acres. And yesterday, we just came up a couple thousand acres. So I'll talk a little bit about that, why here in just a little bit. We have about 23,000 structures that continue to be threatened, with almost 200 miles of fire line on this fire perimeter, which at this point, amazingly, we have about 6% contained, which is pretty amazing with literally 5-6 days of direct work on this. To do that, we've put down so far about 15 miles of hose, and that will probably quadruple as we continue to work forward. There's about 800 folks that are now assigned to the unit, and or this particular fire. And amazingly, we've had no injuries to firefighters or other support staff, et cetera, that have been assigned to this, which is great. The National Guard showed up a few days ago. They're helping with some of the checkpoints, and this is a part of a statewide plan called Operation or O-Plan Smoky. The National Guard participates annually with the suppression and operations of wildland fires, and they're trained through DPSST, or the Department of Public Safety standards and safety and training. So we also have a urban search and rescue team. This is they came out of Washington State, and that team is actually working well upriver at the beginning of or where this fire started, and they're working west down the river, and they're doing the primary and secondary searches of the residences that were impacted looking for any folks that we potentially need to recover. We've got about 500 animals that are over at the Elaine Event Center, and we're housing about 700 evacuees throughout the city right now. And I can't stress enough the amazing level of cooperation and interagency work between corporations, government, as well as private and nonprofit. But the piece is a threat certainly still does exist to our community associated with this fire. And again, I'll talk about it here a little bit further. Here's a picture of the fire perimeter as of last night. For reference purposes, I've gone ahead and I'm going to use my mouse here to point out some landmarks. So the unincorporated area of Walterville is down here in the far left-hand corner. If we were to proceed east up the McKenzie Highway 126, you would then come to the area of Leeburg. We then go up a little further to Vida, Nimrod. Then there's the unincorporated area of Blue River here. And then the area up in here, like where Tokatee and Dakotas and those areas is up in this area right up in here. So that, probably nobody who's watching this has not driven up the McKenzie Highway. And the interesting part is all you would really see is literally what's on either side of the river and the highway. But if you could look at the size of the scale of this is an extremely large fire, very large fire. Where we've been working quite a bit is this finger right here, which you see it says Div F or Division F. What we do is we partition out the fire so we can manage it in pieces. It's the classic, you take bites out of the big item or the elephant and move forward. We do the same thing with fires. This particular finger is where many of our resources are working, as there are many houses that we're securing and cleaning up around. That are along Deerhorn Drive, as well as the Good Pasture Road, et cetera. And we've got a good job this side of the fire being lined out, especially the tip here, and we're working back this direction. This division Mike or M right here is the area that was threatening the Mohawk Valley area, but also potentially the northeast corner of the Springfield area. They've got a good dozer line around that now, and then they being our wildland partners, Oregon Department of Forestry, BLM, U.S. Forest Service, are starting to tighten this area up here to secure that a little bit more. And then this Division Papa is what was threatening the Sweet Home area, which is just right above here. The Lynn Lane County line is right through here. And so this was creeping up into this area, a lot more broken country up in here. So not using nearly as much heavy equipment. This is requiring more hand tool work to get up into that very rough terrain to manage and mitigate that fire. So I just talk about those three areas because as they relate to our metropolitan area here in the Eugene area, but there's lots of that and similar work going on all around this fire right now. In terms of, we take it up a little bit higher in terms of scope. I'm sorry, let's talk about evacuations really quickly. This was the current evacuation chart, I think, up until just a little while ago. I saw KEZI released, they're looking at doing some evacuation lifting a little bit to the east of milepost 47. So I would reach out to some official news websites or the county website on that. But this is starting to go in a really good direction. A lot of this was red up until about 2 days ago. This is our Mohawk area up in here. And then the southern end of the Mohawk area here. And then this is the area of Cedar Flats, Walterville, and then kind of moving up the river. The command team has been lifting some of those evacuations as the fire and those perimeters that I talked about were starting to get more and more secure. So remember, there's 3 levels of evacuation: ready, set, go. Ready being the green area, where folks should be packing up their belongings and their valuables, but monitoring sources. Set means there's an elevated concern and you need to be actively monitoring because go could come very quickly, which means go now. So the colors are associated with that, with the green being ready, yellow set, and red being go. But we've been pulling back some of those evacuations. That's all managed by the Lane County Sheriff's Office in conjunction with their fire partners. So that's going in a good direction right now as well. taking it up another level just to see the full scope of this. While we're experiencing quite a tragedy here in Lane County in the McKenzie Valley. There are fires all up and down the Cascades, and even a few over on the eastern side of Oregon. Typically, a fire of this size would be the nation's #1 problem or threat. In this particular incident, we're actually the #4 priority if in the state of Oregon. So what that means is we have reduced number of resources. While I said 800 people sounds like a lot, a fire of this size, it would not be uncommon to have 3,000 to 5,000 people fighting this fire. So, I can't amplify enough the efforts that have been done by everyone to really aggressively work this fire to keep it out of more populated areas in our community and reducing the damage that has already occurred over the last week. Continuing in terms of deployment, I talked already a little about the scarce resources. We haven't had any injuries. So at Eugene Springfield Fire, in terms of our daily staffing, so we maintain our daily staff that we would on the line, which is 68 firefighters, and that's to cover all 16 of our stations. And then we've actually been deploying folks as well in direct fire support of the fire. So we actually have folks that are attached directly to the fire. In fact, they actually work during the day or night shift and are staying in camp. They don't even go home at night. So even if they live 3 blocks away, they're staying at the camp to maintain accountability and a ready force if something was to happen. So we are fielding directly supporting the fire about 60 to 65 personnel per day. That's over and above our normal staffing. So we've had no decrease in service delivery within the Eugene Springfield area for fire and emergency services. Plus, we've been fielding basically an entire shift up supporting the fire as well. Within that, we also have what we call a light task force, which is made up of a battalion chief, a couple of engines, and a tender. And we're using that. One of our concerns is that there's another start. And even if you've been watching through the week, you've seen other fires start around the city that may or may not be associated with this fire. And our goal is to rapidly get those suppressed and mitigated quickly so they don't grow into something bigger. And that's what that team has been doing. And then we have maintained 3 engines in reserve on our drill ground. And we had firefighters that were on a 30-minute callback. So they had to be there within 30 minutes of the call and on the road to whatever the fire or the threat is within 45 minutes. So that's how we've had our layer of defense to ensure that not only are we maintaining our daily service to the public, we're supporting the fire, but also we had ready reserves for if there was an expansion of this particular incident in our area. I'll point out in terms of being imaginative, if you notice these folks, typically you would see these folks as being our wildland firefighters. That's actually Eugene Springfield Fire staff. We ran out of fire engines and they said, that's fine. We've got shovels, picks, axes. We can do a lot of work with that. Send us out as hand crews. So that's what the crews have stood up to do, gone out and worked in the field directly. And it's not just fire. This has been a whole city response. We've got folks from EPD's crime units that are helping out up on this fire. We have comm center staff who are assisting in communications. We've got public information officers that are embedded with the incident management team, as well as the Lane County EOC. We've also got ISD and public works staff who are working in the field and helping with our mobile satellite connection. So this is our Star Runner, this picture right here, that's actually owned by Eugene Emergency Management, and that provides cell phone service, Wi-Fi, et cetera. That was deployed on Tuesday afternoon up to the McKenzie Bridge area, actually closer to the Rainbow area there at Dakotas. And that's actually been providing communications for that area since last Tuesday. So, and we've got folks with that. So we've had a tremendous impact on this. And this doesn't also include other folks within the city who have been helping us out. I'd like to acknowledge the fleet team. When we said, hey, we need everything we've got rolling, they did an amazing job within hours of getting things on the road. And when we break stuff, because it just happens, they're out, it's done, it's fixed, and that stuff's back in service. So doing some great work out there. Best thing we can do right now is continue to stay informed while the threat has kind of come back a little bit. It's still very present. So making sure we're directing folks to focus on facts and not rumors from official websites that about this fire. The first one being Lane County's website. It's the McKinsey Fire page. Here you can actually sign up for evacuation notifications and more information. The county has a non-emergency line, so if you have specific questions, and that's run 7 days a week. The Oregon Office of Emergency Management has a dashboard where you can see and drill in or click into all these fires and see how big they are and their activity and things that are threatened and et cetera. Just a wealth of information out there. And then certainly Facebook, the incident management team, which is actually located, they're working out of Thurston Middle School over in Springfield, maintains the Holiday Farm Facebook page. A lot of great information, photos, stats, just constantly flowing through that. And if you're interested in getting that information, especially notifications on your phone, you can sign up with the Community Emergency Notification System, or SENS. That's a county program. And this application is available where you would normally obtain apps for your particular device. It's very easy to sign up for. So our road ahead here, talk about weather really quick. The weather has been what we call is we have an inversion. So we have warmer weather above this fog, and it kind of keeps a lid on the fire. And it's been that way for a number of days. And we've been dealing with a lot of super fog events these last few mornings, and we're still going to continue to have some of those events. But the good news is it keeps the fire from rapidly spreading through extreme fire behaviors. So it has allowed us to get a lot of work done. In the next few days, we'll have another system start to roll in, and it will start pushing the smoke out. We'll start seeing some air clearing. And as the week goes on, we've got a increasing probability of precipitation towards the end of this week, which will certainly help some of our efforts from that perspective. But this will be when this final inversion finally does lift, this will be the first breath of fresh air for this fire in about 5 or 6 days. And so it may, depending on getting the fresh air combined with elevated temperatures and lower relative humidity, might decide to demonstrate some aggressive fire behavior. So that's why we have been working so hard since last Monday to get our lines tightened up and making sure we're ready for that if the fire decides to do it. And we're getting into a better place every day we get ahead of it. Ultimately, securing our community, that's a huge part of it. We have a lot of restoration infrastructure and services starting to go back. So with power company, water, filling the Lieberg Dam back up, taking care of the environment, are all big things that we're doing in conjunction with suppressing of this fire. Highway 126 has a lot of damage to it. There's potential for trees falling, a lot of rocks, a lot of debris are coming down regularly on this. So that's going to be quite a while before that gets reopened. Literally weeks and weeks. Exactly how long, I don't know, but it's going to be in the weeks, not in the days. Seasonal rains, that's eventually what will end up extinguishing the interior part of this fire, a fire of this size. We're not going to put out anytime soon. What we're going to do is we're going to get a perimeter around it, and then we're going to let it burn itself out, and the seasonal rains will come along and help us extinguish that piece. Lots of questions about donations. The community has been a lot of outpouring from the community, and so we've been directing folks with donations. If you could go to Highway 99 in Roosevelt, the county has set up a central donation receiving site there, or you could certainly reach out to any of your known well-established 501c3 nonprofit organizations that do a lot of this work. So like United Way, Red Cross, et cetera, are all some good choices. Certainly a strong focus on recovery. That's the long piece here. We've had a significant scar put on the landscape here. And so we'll see and start working on a long-term environmental restoration as well as community rebuilding. But this is certainly going to have generational impacts to us in our community. So with that, I thank you for this opportunity, and certainly happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Matt, do you want to jump in there with your update first, and then we'll address all the questions together?
Sure. Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm Matt Rodriguez, the acting public works director, and I'm filling in as the incident commander for the Eugene Emergency Operations Center, while Chief Heppel is focusing on the Holiday Farm fire. So as you know, one of the secondary effects from the fire that is affecting all of the West Coast right now is smoke and the air quality that we have. Starting Tuesday morning, we very quickly went into very unhealthy and hazardous smoke conditions. Our EOC immediately started to evaluate how we could open air quality shelters. It's a bit of a challenge for us because we actually don't really have the type of facilities that are ideally suited to do this, which would be high quality HVAC systems with filtration and larger spaces, especially in light of COVID, to make sure we're meeting our state guidelines on separation. We were not able to find a perfect location, so we went with the best that we had, which turns out to be Hilliard Community Center in Peterson Barn. They had the best filtration systems and most space, even though they're limited, to be able to accommodate people. We opened those up on Wednesday, working together with Lane County, who also opened the Lane Event Center, basically a portion of the Lane Event Center to other folks to access clean air. And those operated daytime hours. It was 9 to 5 for our community centers and 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. for Lane Event Center. As the day went on, or as the week went on, we were watching the use of those facilities and actually didn't get a lot of use. We averaged about one person in Hilliard, and actually I don't think we had any people use Peterson Barn. The most used was at Lane Event Center. I think part of that is just the location of where it was. So we worked with the county as we approached the weekend to consolidate and help staff it, because basically on Friday, the city of Eugene took over staffing of that location to help move it through the weekend. On Sunday, we received permission to go ahead and change the Lane Event Center to a 24-hour shelter. We did reduce capacity when we did that, again, to meet requirements for COVID spacing down to 15 people. And we worked and set up a contract with St. Vincent de Paul for them to manage that facility, because ideally we would have social service providers assisting us with that type of shelter, and especially when you get into overnight sheltering. We've continued to reach out to community partners to try and find space, but that really is the biggest challenge right now. As you know, in non-COVID times, we typically have a great outpouring of community support for housing people when conditions warrant it, but we also know with COVID right now, that has changed the dynamic and availability of space. So for right now, we're monitoring air quality, as the chief said. We're starting to see some relief inside. Actually, just got a couple texts from people that in Coburg and near Fern Ridge is starting to clear up a little bit. So I think that's hopeful, even though we know that it'll probably be patchy through the next few days. So we will have the Lane Event Center open through tomorrow morning, and we will reassess how long we need to keep it in place in order to provide that safe place for people to be.
Okay, thank you both, Chief Heppel and Matt, for those reports. I think we're so proud of the performance of our fire department, our EPD, our public safety. It's been extraordinary, and it was so scary last week, and we felt so confident in your leadership and how you would handle it. So thank you, really thank you, and all the firefighters and the people you're working with. It's been phenomenal, and very interesting to get a little description of how you do the work. And Matt, I also appreciate your laying out the sequence of events in sheltering the homeless, because we have a lot of community interest in that. So with that, I have Mike and then Jennifer.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you both for the report. Matt, I have had a lot of input from constituents, friends, people in other jurisdictions over the last couple of days, more than anything else. Some county commissioners who were wondering if we had the capacity to do more and asking me to push on the idea. I'm wondering and maybe this is a better question for Sarah, with regard to evacuees and support for folks who are temporarily seeking shelter, how do you see the city's responsibility in that, considering that, you know, this is a county organized endeavor, but they've obviously reached out and said, we need the city's help. How do you see the city's responsibility? That is question one.
Well, in terms of the evacuees, I think we have, as Chief Heppel said, and as Matt said, everything that they've asked us for help with, we've been there. We've been sending resources to their emergency operations center. We've established, and Matt can talk more about it, we've established agreements with 4J around places to evacuate people to, which, you know, initially we were thinking, you know, if this jumps to Springfield and Eugene, we're going to need more and more space. So we're set up and ready to do that. I don't know what specifically they would be asking for that we haven't actually said yes to and have been actively planning to resource.
24, if I could jump in there, I had a county commissioner ask me in very strong language if we could be of more assistance with 24-hour shelter opportunities for those evacuated that needed respite from the smoke. Is that something I've read all the emails from all of you.
Yeah.
Is that something we're actively working on to do at some point soon, or are we kind of just knowing that this is going to fade off here pretty quick? And
so, Councilor Clark, I think to be really clear, the 24-hour, what we've been asking for help with as well is how do you provide 24-hour respite for people that are unhoused, not evacuees. I think they've got a plan for the evacuees. This has to do more with our vulnerable populations. That's what Matt was referring to. I think we opened up what we thought we could to give people day respite because we thought, I think, and Matt, you can jump in here anytime, but you know, we assumed that was going to last a couple of days and then we were going to get potentially some better air. And as it lasted and we needed overnight care, we've been looking and asking all of our partners for space to be able to do that with, and we're actively ready to do that. And Matt, you can say more about that.
Yeah, no, I think, Sarah, you're right on. Councilor Clark, as Sarah said, you know, Red Cross is the lead for sheltering evacuees, and they are working directly with Lane County's EOC, and then we are supporting Lane County's EOC with any ask that they have. So Sarah's right on that.
If I could jump in there just real quick, Matt, I apologize for the interruption. I have friends who are volunteering in the process to try and help evacuees find shelter, who were telling me they had waiting lists at the Red Cross of 75 to 80 people before they could find shelter. My question, do we yet have the FEMA vouchers to be able to shelter people who are evacuating? And are you aware of the Red Cross having a waiting list to help people?
So the Red Cross, you know, the information I've been privy to, I think that they have probably upwards of 850 people in hotel rooms right now across 11 locations. I think they may have a wait list right at the moment, but I know they're working to expand that operation. So everything that I've heard has been that they've been able to step up and meet the need, potentially with the short gaps along the way as they expand their capacity.
I listened to the congressman's press conference the other day mentioning that he'd secured FEMA resources, and I wondered, do we have them in place if people are waiting?
So, Councilor, I don't know that I have enough information on Red Cross's operations to be able to give you a good answer on that. We can ask for clarification from Lane County EOC and Red Cross on that.
Okay, I would love to have some follow-up on that when you have it, just to see where we are, because if there's folks having to flee that don't have a place to go, that seems like something, if we can help, we should. So.
Yeah, and we're prepared to do that. I can see Chief Heppel was unmuting and then remuted. Do you have something you want to add? I saw you unmute there.
I would say, you know, FEMA resources, Counselor, I think is a pretty nebulous term until you drill down a little bit. You know, I have FEMA resources that are available to me, but, or I have FEMA resources. Yes, FEMA resources are available, but there's no resources available. So, you know, that's the challenge I think that you run into. It could be FEMA reimbursement where you get, you know, the Stafford Act and you receive 75% of what it was, and the agency is responsible for the 25%. That's FEMA resources, but you're not going to see that reimbursed for quite a while. I think that how you elicit that piece and the direct action that is associated with that statement of FEMA resources is different in every location.
Sure.
And I
Do you
think
have any direct information with regard to the shelter?
yeah, and again, I think that is, the resources could be that, FEMA has provided funding to the Red Cross to execute this mission of the evacuees, but we don't have enough hotel rooms. I think the other it's not an outlier, but the other fact is still got COVID here. So when we start talking about our traditional congregate sheltering, that adds another layer of complexity to this, where I would normally open up some type of an open gymnasium or
Sure.
facility, something like that. We've got to keep the distancing that's associated with that, just as we've struggled with folks back in April, May, and June with the governor's stay home, stay safe orders. So
Sure.
those things are all still in play. Those things haven't been lifted. And so it just
Sure.
adds another layer of complexity.
With regard to evacuees, who has jurisdiction, who has incident command for deciding if there is a wait list of folks trying to figure out where they go? Who's ultimately in charge of that?
All right, so I would start that conversation with the Lane County EOC, and then the Red Cross has the national. My understanding, Red Cross has the national contract to provide that service.
I wonder out loud, should the city do something more if there are people on a wait list who are evacuating and haven't a place to stay? And I don't know the answer there. I'm just asking it out loud because it seems to me like we should. So
I don't disagree with you. So I just want to clarify that really early last week, we worked through our agreements with 4J that would allow American Red Cross, should we deem necessary, to open those up. So that is in place. And I don't know that we've been asked to do that. Or that they've been asked to do that. So I think we're following the lead of the American Red Cross. Yeah.
They would be the ones to ask, should that be necessary?
Yeah, I have not, and I'm on a daily phone call, and I don't think the resource for the people that are being evacuated so far, from what I've heard, is the lacking resource, although there may be some type of wait list.
If there is in fact a waiting list of 75 to 80 people, I hope we can check in with that and put that into play.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, Jennifer and then Claire.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks, Mike. Those were some of my questions as well. And it sounds like we've got that handled. So first of all, Matt, I want to thank you. I know this came up obviously suddenly in the middle of several other crises, and you've had to work fast. And I really appreciate what staff has been doing. And I know people have been frustrated. I know I have. I know I've probably sent frustrating emails to you, and it's not, and I apologize if I did. So my questions are, how many people were we seeing at the Lane Event Center for the day? Because you said the other two centers weren't really getting people. So how many were showing up at the Lane Event Center?
Yeah, so it was between 18 and 19 people.
18 and 19 people. So do we have any idea why it's so low?
That's a great question. I don't know that I can speak to that completely. I mean, I think some of the things that we've heard from the community is that potentially if people have a spot where they want to be, they may be hesitant to leave it for a limited amount of hours because they would need to come back and shelter in the evening. I will say, since we opened up the 24-hour shelter, and definitely, it was a little bit later in the evening last night, so we expect we'll have a better attendance tonight. We did have 9 people that were sheltered overnight yesterday. So we hope to get up to our 15 as word is getting out to the community of that resource.
Okay. So it's kind of distressing because we know we have a lot more than 15 folks who are out breathing this air. And I know Lane County provided 300 masks. Do we know if those have been distributed already?
I believe that they have been distributed. What I heard today is that they have been distributed to people that are going to be outside predominantly, right, around house, folks that will be outside. And I think they added another 60 that they were able to distribute. So we've been in support of that as well, and counties been handing out.
Is there a way for us to I mean, we obviously have more than 360 folks. So is there a way for us to get more of those supplies that we can get to our nonprofit partners to hand out?
We definitely are in support. If Lane County needs resource, we've been asking them if they need additional resource for that, and we can double check to see if there's requests that are coming in that haven't been filled.
Well, okay, and that's great, but if Lane County doesn't ask for them, that doesn't mean people don't need them. I mean, if our nonprofit folks who are working with the homeless can get these to people, do we need to go through Lane County, or can we just get them out to folks?
Let me explore that tomorrow. Okay. Honestly, one thing that I'll state, and it may seem frustrating to people, but typically when you're working in an emergency,
right,
structure, you have a structure of how you do things, and you have a lead in certain areas, and then people that have a support role. And I know that may not answer. It also is how you logistically come up with your needs. So you have a lead in Lane County saying, this is our need, who can help us fill it? If we give mass out directly, that is something that we can explore, but then we may not be there when they have the prioritizing to come up for that service.
I want to, and I'll add to
I missed that last part, sorry.
Oh, sorry.
You were cutting out a little.
I was just saying that if we, on our own recognizance, go out and deliver mass, we may not have the resource for Lane County if they say they need to call it up, being the lead in that area. It's not to say they wouldn't get to people who need them. It's just the way the structure is. So we can explore if we can practically get one mass out. We have our own resource limitation on mass, but we do that. We could probably get out to the community.
I was going to add that, I know that is really frustrating because you have like the one group that Chris is participating in that's really the sort of the incident control emergency operations of the fire itself. Then Lane County is the lead on all other things related to evacuations, housing, all of the pieces that are, but both are working really closely together. They're also the lead on the public health COVID emergency. And so they have a lot of PPE, and they have a lot of, I think, direction around how we can use that and where we should be using it. So I think we've just been trying to be acknowledging all of the different things that we're trying to balance. And so when they have the PPE to give, we're happy to get out and help. And I think it's just a matter of overlapping emergencies. I know earlier today that, they're still even trying to figure out how to get enough PPE to the staff that are up on the fires doing road maintenance.
Okay.
Okay, Claire and then Alan.
Thank you. Thank you, Chief, for the good briefing on where things stand with the fire. Appreciate all the hard work out there. And then Matt, also thanks for your leadership while Chief Heppel is busy doing that. So some of my questions are on the same topic as Councilor Yea's. And I recognize that we're doing this work in coordination with Lane County, and that, the city of Eugene doesn't have under our own jurisdiction large spaces like the Lane Event Center. But I'm curious about the 15-person limit there, since the event center is huge, and it seems like it could accommodate a lot more people with safe social distancing. And so are we not using the entire Lane Event Center?
Yeah, actually the space we have is one of the side rooms in the Lane Event Center. So the Lane Event Center right now is being used for a scheduled activity, which has been going on while we're in our side location in the event center. So we have a small portion of the event center, not the main hall.
I see. And this other suggestion would also have to be done in coordination with Lane County, but I'm wondering about reaching out to the Egan Warming Center organizers to try to employ them and the sites that they've used. And I know that's been affected by COVID as well, but that is a resource that's out there that could be employed for this emergency in theory. And then I share Jennifer's frustration about the lack of movement on getting, or slow movement and getting more N95 masks out into the community. I recognize there are shortages, but I mean, this has been hazardous day after hazardous day after hazardous day. And the people who live on the streets, already many of them suffer respiratory challenges. And I don't know if, Lane County is going to be prepared for the healthcare needs of those people in the aftermath of the situation that could be mitigated by giving them N95 masks now. And lastly, or two more things. So I wonder if we could check in with our homeless outreach workers to see if they have a sense of why folks haven't been using the shelters as much as we might expect them to. They may have some insight into that since they are speaking with the folks who are out there on the streets. And then lastly, even if the air cleared up tonight and we were on the other side of this current crisis, this is going to happen again. We are going to have days of hazardous air intrusion from forest fires again in our community. So we need to come up with a plan with Lane County on how we put up a 24-hour shelter that shelters more than 15 people for the next time this happens. Thanks.
Thank you. Alan.
Yeah, I wanted to say thank you to Matt and the chief and all the firefighters and all the support staff that have been working on this and everybody else that's been helping people out. It's just an amazing amount of work that we're finally starting to make some headway on the fire. That's great. 6% is not amazing, is not a lot, but it's a good start. And I think people need to realize that they don't just go through the fire and put the whole fire out over that 166,000 acres. That, like the chief said, it'll burn for a long, long time, and it's not safe to be in there. So that makes it even more frustrating for people that want to get back in there and whatnot. I have a question about the Lane Event Center. And so Lane County didn't turn over, allow us to operate 24 hours until Sunday night. Is that what I'm hearing? At the Lane County Event Center. It's not the Eugene Event Center.
So yes, I mean, we were partnering with Lane County, since we opened the shelters on Wednesday, and as we moved on, we were able to secure permission to use it for overnight shelter around noon on Sunday. So then we went to work and got it open last night. So
is the rest of the event center completely filled with some other use now, or did they leave?
There's a use, and I don't remember the name of it, but I think it's consignment for children's clothing, actually, which is, it's amazing how much material they were bringing in. So I think it's fairly large. It's in the main hall. And our understanding from Lane County is they actually have programmed uses for their facilities, including the main hall, going forward, and a couple that are coming in. So we're working on that with them day by day to make sure that air quality is not cleared up and that we can continue to use that space.
Well, it doesn't look like air quality is going to be continued. I'm not, this isn't your fault, Matt. It seems more like a Lane County issue. Why, I don't understand why a Lane Event Center, Lane County hasn't opened more of it up or kicked the people out. This is an emergency, or at least not allow new people to go in there.
I think they're using it for a number of things. I know like this week, they're gonna open a multi-agency resource center in there, maybe as soon as Wednesday. I know last week before the fire, so maybe 2 weeks ago, they had plans to do some COVID safe courthouse space there that I think may still be going on. So we can pass on the concerns and talk to them for sure. But I know that they are using the space for evacuated animals and different things. So I just don't know the details of it, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, good to hear, that it's got to be 100,000 square feet or something like that. I can't imagine a better use for this emergency. But yeah, and just touching on what Claire, and I guess the other point about that is we don't have spaces like that. I mean, we've got little community centers that are, like thousands of square feet, a couple thousand square feet, and we don't have big spaces. And with COVID, that means only, probably a handful or two handfuls of people can go in there at all, period. And so we just don't have those kind of structurally, we don't have those kind of spaces. So I understand people think that we should just snap our fingers and make it happen, but it's not that simple, especially when you just don't have the space. And I guess touching on Claire's point, which is that this is going to happen again. Structurally, when these kind of disasters happen, Lane County's the lead because they're the emergency operations management is housed. They have the equipment, they have the center, they have the knowledge and the training, and City of Eugene is in a support role. And I think everybody assumes that Eugene should be in the lead and other people should be supporting us, but that's not the case. So I guess there's going to be a continued perception issue about what is Eugene dragging its feet or standing in the way, when in fact we're doing everything we possibly can to be supportive of the structure that's put in place to handle these kind of things. And we shouldn't, and while I understand, trying to get masks out to people, there is a structure for that, and just going around willy-nilly doing things outside that structure is actually can sometimes be counterproductive for what we're trying to do, especially if there's higher priorities for resources, which is what the command center is supposed to do, is prioritize and get things done.
Alan, you're way over. Okay.
Maybe you can address that.
So we're going to run out of time, and we have two other issues that we really must address. Mike, I know you're angling for a second round, but I actually do not want to continue this conversation if you're going to ask a question that's going to require a long response. So I'll give you 30 seconds, but not more.
Thank you, Mayor. Have we inquired at the university about the use of their residence halls for evacuees? Sarah?
So, Councilor Clark, Cross is the lead on that. So they would be requesting that through Lane County. The University of Oregon is
sure
in close contact with the Lane County EOC on needs that they're requesting.
Are you aware if they have requested?
Mike, I just need for you to explore this at another. We have got to move on. I don't want to start a whole new line of inquiry here.
Yeah, we'll explore and answer you by email.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay, it is 6:20. We have two items of business. I want to thank you, Chief, again. Thank you, Matt, for really obviously an issue that's of deep interest to all of us. But we will now go on. We have first item, work session and possible action resolution concerning compensation for the members of the ad hoc committee on police policy. So I'll turn that over to the manager first.
Thank you very much. And I believe that either Christy, yep, there you go. Your name disappeared and your face was there and I couldn't find you.
Oh, it's still me, Sarah. Do you want to go ahead and jump in, Sarah? All right. Mayor Venice, Council, Christy Hammett, Assistant City Manager. I'm going to share my screen with you. Let's see if I can get that to work correctly. Are you able to see it? Let's see.
Not just yet.
Okay. How about now?
There we go.
All right.
Yep.
Awesome. My technical prowess is sometimes not quite there. So this is the first of two work sessions focused on council-initiated engagement with BIPOC and underrepresented communities to hear their thoughts and recommendations regarding police policy, community safety, and the use of community safety funds. This particular session is a follow-up to the July 20th work session in which Council passed a motion to establish an ad hoc police policy committee and directed the city manager to return in September with a funding mechanism and funding source to compensate the committee members. Today, we'll be seeking council direction on the proposed resolution and the funding source identified to pay for the compensation package. I'll start really quickly about just kind of reminding you about the decision that has transpired since July 20th, when you initiated the ad hoc committee. The committee is comprised of 30 members. The 13 groups that are listed provided 2 representatives for the committee, and the mayor appointed 4 ad hoc committee members. The committee is tasked with reviewing police policies related to Campaign Zero and 21st century policing, and will be providing a report to council recommending policy changes to the current police policy by the end of January 2021. Forming a 30-member committee is no small task and required a significant amount of outreach. I just want to take a moment to thank Councilor Evans and Councilor Ye for their assistance in helping staff with outreach. The committee requires a significant amount of commitment, and with all that is going on in the world, I cannot emphasize enough how much we appreciate all of the representatives who will be dedicating their time to serve on this committee. The committee is being led by a 3-person facilitator team. The leader of that group is Kevin Alltucker. You're familiar with Kevin and his work with the Community Safety Initiative and helping implement those strategies moving forward. Also, Kaz Zaidi, our multicultural liaison, and Mo Young from Lane County, she's their equity and access coordinator, is joining the facilitation team. I'm really excited. It's an amazing team of folks to be leading this effort. And I'm just really grateful that we have them at the helm, and they're very anxious to get to work with the committee. Now that the team is formed and the facilitation team is focused on coming up with kind of the plan for where we move, how we move through this process together, and grounding that, getting in contact with all of the committee members, as well as each of the members of the council, to talk about where we're headed, what's, just learn a little bit more about what's important to various people. Oh, okay. Okay, thank you. Sorry, I just got updated about my slides not moving forward correctly. Let me see if I can fix that.
Christy, you may need to unshare and then share again.
Okay, let me see if I can make that work. Let me call up the presentation again. I'm not sure why it's not moving forward. I don't know, I'm having a lot of trouble with my PowerPoint. I think I can, if it's okay, I'm just going to continue to move through this as most of the information's in your packet and you have copies of the slides, and I do too. So, anyways, the group will be in contact and we'll keep moving. Our hope is to have the first meeting at the end of September, but we will be in contact. The facilitators will be in contact with you soon. So, in your packet, attachment A, you had a proposed resolution. The resolution, the purpose of the resolution is to establish the official compensation package for all of the ad hoc committee members based on input that we received. Some of the things that the resolution is intended to do is help eliminate some of the barriers to participation, increasing the number of individuals who are willing and able to serve as committee members, and offset some of the costs for members to be able to participate in these meetings. The package that compensates all members at $15 an hour or an equivalent stipend, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. I want to thank our city attorney, Catherine Brotherton, for the work she did on the resolution. I know there was an incredible amount of research in figuring out how to move forward with this, and so just wanted to say thank you. The proposed compensation package and funding source is grounded in a few things. One is the estimated number of meetings, the intent to make sure that we develop a process that's not burdensome for the participants or the members of the committee, as well as less staff intensive to manage. So the team is estimating that will be quite a few meetings, and the thought is that we'll probably have 9 to 12 meetings with a 2-hour time limit per each meeting. The proposed resolution provides for members being compensated at $15 an hour for 1 hour or less participation in a meeting, or $30 for participating in 2 hours in the full 2-hour meetings. So anything where it goes over an hour will kick to the $30 for that particular meeting. Members will receive one lump sum payment no later than January 31st, 2021. The funding source that we've identified for the compensation package is the Council Contingency Fund. The projected cost for providing this compensation is somewhere between $8,000 and $11,000, more specifically $8,100 and $10,800. Projected member compensation per member is somewhere in the range of $270 to $360 based upon that 2-hour meeting criteria. In your packet, there are potential resolutions. And as mentioned earlier, what we're hoping today is to get your feedback and direction on the resolution specifically and on the funding source. So the first resolution is to move to adopt a resolution concerning compensation for members of the ad hoc committee on the police committee meeting hours. And the second is specific to the funding source. The first funding source and the recommended funding source is council contingency. And there's another option if council chooses to direct the city manager to use an alternate funding source. And with that, Mayor, I'll turn it over to you, and thank you all for your patience, and sorry for the technical difficulty.
Great, thank you very much. I have Mike and then Claire in the queue, and Betty.
Thank you, Mayor. First, I want to say thank you to Sarah, who in the interim moments since my questions has both, contacted a couple of people, done the research, and then answered my questions via text. I just think it's awesome. Thank you, Sarah. The first question I have is it's more of a, I suppose, a philosophical question that council should answer, but what's different from any of the other cities' committees or commissions that this one should be compensated as opposed to others? I mean, we get our 50 cents an hour, so I don't have a lot of room to talk, but I'm having a hard time understanding why this committee should be paid when so many other important community volunteers are not. And I know that's more of a policy question. And I guess the assistant city manager is smiling. Do you have anything you want to input in terms of, or Sarah, in terms of what you guys were thinking in the initial parts of forming of this?
Well, I think the original formation of that came from you, and so I think
That's true. You're
both
right.
Councilor Ye and Evans could speak to it. But I will say, when we did the equity panel for climate, and also with this, what we hear is that it's one thing when we put something out and we ask volunteers to come forward to be on a commission, and it's really clear what that is, and they read it and they apply and they do that. It's another thing when we go out into the community, and oftentimes to the same communities over and over, looking for their expertise that we don't have, and that we should be compensating people for that expertise as opposed to expecting them to give it away. So that would be my most high level summary of that, and I'm certain they could add to it.
I would love to ask the technical question now, which is, have we done, and I know Catherine, as always, has done, an immense quantity of research here, but have we, so these folks will receive 1099s, I assume, from the city, and will any such compensation create any sort of conflicts with unemployment that they may or may not be receiving, any Section 8 issues with regard to qualification? I mean, are there other things that will, that this compensation might endanger in their world?
Well, with all the research that I did, I can tell you that wasn't part of it, because what we looked at was making sure that we led them and created a system that did not violate Oregon ethics law. We certainly wouldn't want to set up a compensation system where in that just the manner in which we set it up was a violation. So that was what my work was to do. The individuals and what the money could or couldn't do in impacting their other benefits, I don't know the answer to that.
Okay. I understand the desire on our part for greater expertise than we have had previous access to. That makes some sense to me and other life experiences. Andrea Ortiz, bless her memory, explained this to me really well one time, saying if we're not actively searching out folks whose opinions we want or need, then we're failing. It's not just asking it, and throwing it open. It's going out and soliciting. And I get the importance of that, but I'm still troubled by the precedent we're setting that there's no other manner in which we can get this and still maintain the value of community volunteer effort. So I'm not sure how I feel about this yet. Thanks.
Okay, Claire, and then Betty, and then Chris.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Christy, for the presentation. So I support the recommendations in the packet and the draft motion and the recommendation to use council contingency funds for it. Just going back to what you mentioned, Christy, about the 3 folks who will be facilitating. I'm really pleased to hear that Mo Young from the county is joining our team temporarily to support this work. I think that's fantastic. And also happy that our new multicultural liaison is part of that team. I've heard really great things about Kaz and his skills. So I'm glad we're taking this approach with seeking to provide, a small amount of compensation for folks to give up their time to engage in this important work with us. I think there are many different barriers to people participating in a city committee of this kind. And since the majority of council believes we need to make greater efforts to engage communities of color and other marginalized groups in this conversation, I think this is an appropriate way to try and overcome some of those barriers. Providing some direct compensation is one way. It's not the only way. We could think about, providing childcare, changing where, the venues where we hold these events, how we do the outreach, providing a nice meal is always a great thing to do for your committees. And I know some of our committees cut back on their budgets during the recession, and folks, have to sit through an evening participating in a city activity without even getting some food. So I really support us taking this step in this first step in looking for ways to increase participation from people who may not be able to do so otherwise. So I'm all in.
Okay, great. Betty?
Thank you. I am totally opposed to paying volunteers. I think they are giving, some people give money to causes and some people give time. And these people will be giving, I assume that they weren't told they would be paid. I hope they weren't, but I really think it's wrong. I think it's setting a wrong precedent. I think people give their time because they think it's important. They will have the satisfaction of doing something that they think is important. They're also resume building anytime someone's on a committee or commission. I was opposed to having this committee, actually. I think we've left out a lot of people. Everybody in the city should be involved if we're asking for advice on I guess this is about policing policy. And we are the people who were elected to set policies. And we already have the police commission, which supposedly is going through the council and making recommendations. And we listen to everyone who wants to talk to us. But anyway, that's gone. People, I know the majority voted to have the committee, and I did vote in favor of the names that were chosen. I thought there are some good people there if we're going to do it. But I am totally opposed to compensation. I think we should, anytime we're spending extra money, we should think, is this the most important thing to spend it on? And I don't think we have a lot of extra money right now. As for council contingency, I think that was intended for contingencies, and it should be saved for that, maybe helping people who are just about to lose their homes or their rentals. Thank you.
Okay, Chris and then Alan.
Thank you. I have been a person who's argued a lot about volunteer service should be voluntary, and for many years argued that people like city councilors shouldn't be paid because we came to this job, we volunteered to do it. I'm willing to accept the notion that you can be compensated as a stipend, but I wouldn't want that to turn into a paycheck. So, and I think for me, the distinction and what makes it apply in this situation is there are two ways you can become involved in an advisory role with the city. The first one is where you say, come and knock on my door if you want to work with me. And that's what our boards and commissions are. And the process is you come and knock on my door and you say, I want to be a part of your police commission. And then we will look at your application and say that you can do that. Or you come and knock on my door and you say, you know, I would really like to be on your budget committee. And I don't think there should be an expectation if you come to knock on my door and ask to participate that I should have to pay you to do that. On the other hand, if I go knock on your door and say, listen, I want to take advantage of your expertise. You represent a certain point of view or a certain perspective, and I'm knocking on your door and asking if you will work with me. I think that's a slightly different situation where I'm reaching out to you. And when I knock on your door, then I don't think it's unreasonable for me to say, and I will pay for your time if you're willing to do that. If I knock on the door of a lawyer and say, if you're willing to help me at the city, I pay them for that. And I think if I'm asking for the expertise or specific point of view of somebody who I have gone and knocked on their door to ask for, then I'm more comfortable with compensating them in that specific circumstance. And for me, that is distinct from saying, we have boards and commissions, you come to me if you want to participate, and I'll let you do it if you satisfy all of my needs and requirements for what service on that commission is, but don't expect to get paid because you came and knocked on my door to do it. So that for me is the difference. Now, somebody could say, well, you're a city councilor. You came and knocked on the city's door and said, I want to be a city councilor. And that has always been the troubling part for me because I came and knocked on the city's door and said, I wanted to be a city councilor. And so I didn't expect necessarily to get paid for it. And I don't think of it as a paycheck or a job as much as it is a reimbursement or a stipend. And that's even what it's technically called. And so the arguments that we should start paying city councilors full salaries, I'm still adamantly opposed to because I don't think that's the way that system should work. In this case, if we're going to go and we're going to ask them for their help and knock on their door, I'm perfectly comfortable with compensating them for that in that circumstance.
Okay, thank you. Alan and then Jennifer.
Yeah, thanks. How much is in the council contingency fund? And it just started July 1, right?
Yeah, $12,000.
$12,000. Okay, that's not a lot of money. So I too support the proposal to use council contingency and to fund give these folks a stipend. I think it's a modest amount of money. I think it's the sort of thing that the council contingency is for. It's not going to house a lot of homeless people, but I don't necessarily think that this ends up being a precedence that all of our committees get compensated. I think this is a very narrow rationale for compensation, and I like Chris's metaphor. The other thing I would add to that is that You know, part of institutional racism is assuming that everybody has the ability or the wherewithal to give either time or money to have their voice heard, but that's not really the case. And historically, those folks have been excluded from participation and then have not had their voices heard. And that is part of the problem that we're trying to resolve these days in the way that we've been doing business for a very long time. And I think it's about time we start changing that. And this is a good way to start doing that. So I support the proposal.
Thank you. I'm Jennifer and then Greg.
Yeah, thanks. I wanted to respond to what Mike's questions, and I think they're good questions because for me, when this first came up, you know, I had some of the same questions that, you know, these are not easy discussions for us to have. And I appreciate what Councilor Zelenka said, that this does go back to institutionalized racism and how we are going to address that and how we are going to compensate people to come and help us fix our problems. And I think so, therefore, I think it's very appropriate for us to be compensating them for this particular committee. But I also hope that this starts a larger discussion that some people have touched on how we are providing for folks that are coming to these meetings. You know, how can we do a better job at providing daycare, or, you know, where are these meetings happening, and all these different discussions that are going to help us bring more folks into these conversations. This is just one little group, but hopefully it's going to open up a larger discussion for us about how we can increase our engagement across our city.
Greg, and then Mike is asking for a second round.
For me, this is totally an access issue. For years and years and years, this city has not had the input of underrepresented communities. I will point out, I am the third city councilor of color in the history of this city. The first one didn't get appointed or elected until the late 1980s. Which is far too long of a time not to have someone be represented. And this is a short-term committee. This is not going on and on and on like the Police Commission or Human Rights Commission or anything like that. This is a special case. This is a case where we need the input of people who have not been at the table before. And we really need to look at the issues of systemic racism, because, you know, people have felt unwelcome to engage with the city. And a lot of that has been because of race, some race and gender, and some other things. I think we've conquered the gender piece. At least I think so. But we really haven't conquered the other marginalized communities that, you know, should participate fully in the city. I think I see this as a gateway, for example, for people to actually, you know, get more familiar with the city and be ready to volunteer for another committee. That is a standing committee. That's a long-term committee. That's, you know, as long as the city is going to be here, we will have a planning commission. We'll have a human rights commission. We will have a police commission. So those things, you know, are critical. If we're going to open the door, this is the way I think to open it. And, you know, I don't have a problem with the compensation piece. Like I said, this is a short-term committee. It will end at the end of January. And, you know, that's that.
Thank you. And Mike, second comment?
Real quickly, number one, I agree entirely with all of the rationale that Chris said with regard to how he set up the argument. I just don't agree with his assessment of the situation. I think that A lot of, I mean, if you look at the motion is to appoint groups who would then appoint their own representatives. We didn't go to individuals and ask them for their input. These were groups who came to us and said, you haven't considered our point of view as much as you should. And I agree with them. And Alan, I would say, your point that this isn't precedent setting in your opinion, you know me well enough to know I'll remember that, and that's fine, good, excellent. I hope that's the case. And Greg's argument was persuasive to me to vote in favor of it. We do have a duty to do this. I don't think it's right, the statistics that he mentioned about the people of color who have served. And it is a very short-term thing that we're doing. If it were a longer-term ongoing committee, I would have a different point of view. But I can see the importance of it. So thanks.
Yeah. Sorry, struggling with my mute and not mute. So I am going to turn this over to Jennifer to put a motion on the table.
Yeah. So I move to adopt the resolution concerning compensation for the members of the Ad Hoc Committee on Police Policy for committee meeting hours.
Second.
All right. Any comments, questions? So all in favor, please raise your hand virtually, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I see Councilor Semple. Opposed? Betty, thank you. So it passes. And thank you very much for that conversation. Now, yeah, did we have to pass a motion? Have a second motion on the funding source here? Do you want to put
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. That's why I was momentarily confused. Okay.
So I move to use the Council Contingency Fund as the funding source for members of the Ad Hoc Committee on Police Policy for committee meeting hours.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor, please raise your real or virtual hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and opposed 1. Thank you. And that passes as well. Thank you very much. I think it's a very important thing you've just done. I think it's a very, very important step, and I appreciate your courage in stepping forward to doing this, because it will make a big difference to this conversation proceeding in a respectful and constructive way. So thank you. Thank you for that work. Because it is 6:50 and the next item of business is going to definitely take us more than 10 minutes, I want to propose to you that we reinstate a noon meeting on Wednesday to cover this third item of today's agenda. So I'm kind of looking for a head nod to see if—
Point of order, what's the topic, Mayor? Sorry.
It's the topic are the workshops, again, reaching out to workshops to take a deeper dive in the community safety initiative. So staff has a presentation about how they're envisioning going forward on those workshops. They need direction from council to approve that process or not, and it's going to take a little time to discuss. So since we have an opening on the calendar on Wednesday, I'm proposing just that one item. I promise not to beef up the calendar and fill your day, because we also have—
will not be able to attend.
You're not going to be able to attend?
I'll be in transit between here and Portland.
Okay. Are others?
Can we limit it to 1 hour?
We could limit it to 1 hour. Yes, we can limit it to 1 hour. All right, buddy, more or less okay with that? Thank you very much for your flexibility. And you know, our first conversation was important and it took time. And so this is just where we land. Thank you all very much. With that, we are adjourned. We'll see you back at 7:30.